Hello there. This is a tarot reading for the sign of Cancer. If you can see in the background, we're looking at a very misty and very wild Atlantic Ocean. And I thought I'm going to start the May 2025 readings with the sign of Cancer because I'm in my grandparents' home. And Cancer, you are the sign of home and family and belonging and roots and ancestry, and just that beautiful Atlantic Ocean in the background really reminded me of you today. So let's have a look at what May 2025 has in store for the sign of Cancer. I'm going to start by pulling 3 cards, and then we're going to keep pulling cards throughout the duration of this reading to get even more messages. And if this reading ends up resonating with you, I'm going to do an extended reading, which will be linked down below, and it's going to offer an alternative perspective and an even kind of a different outlook on another timeline or another trajectory available to you for the month of May 2025. But let's get right into it. A very optimistic trajectory or timeline with the Three of Wands. May is a time of future planning and sort of beginning to see those ships come in, right? So the beginning of May is a pretty unique time astrologically because there are no planets that are retrograde, and it's just a initiating energy. So it's a very optimistic start to the month of May for you. Beautiful energy with the Fool card coming through as well, showing new chapters emerging. You know, we have passed the vernal equinox now on the northern hemisphere, and I find that the month of May is a really abundant time, and it's a very much like when spring is beginning, and there's just like, here we go, the Two of Wands. This is a great start to the reading, folks. There's just this kind of energy of like what's next and what's emerging for you. So it seems like you're feeling very fiery, Two of Wands and Three of Wands, very energized, very hopeful and optimistic for your future or for what is laying ahead of you. Because we're moving from the Three of Wands to the Two of Wands, it is a little interesting. So to me, that tells me that you begin the month of May with plans in motion, with action steps that you're kind of taking. And so this, like all threes, signifies that there is growth, abundance, fertility, more doors opening for you. One door opens and leads to another and another. This could look like networking or making connections. This could actually look like travel plans come up very often with these 3 cards. You know, you've kind of got the world in your hands, you're thinking about what's out there. The Fool card can just feel like a lightness and sort of ease and buoyancy that comes when we take a load off and we travel and we explore. So maybe you're going to be getting away somewhere. The yellow makes me think it could be nice and warm or sunny, and in the month of May you're going to get to enjoy that. So the Three of Wands tells me that you start the month with this kind of like grand plan in action. It's already beginning, it's already growing. And then the Fool card tells me that on a soul level, like any major arcana card, you're actually in this kind of awakening period, awakening your risk taking, your sort of kind of happy-go-lucky kind of parts of yourself. But it would suggest that this venture of yours, or what you are really pouring a lot of focus into, is actually going to lead to a much bigger major arcana card. This is the first card of the deck. A much bigger adventure will be following this, or the steps that you're taking now and what you're working on, planning for the future, or even acting upon. Fire is a lot to do with taking action, are leading to something more profound, something that feels like a whole new chapter. But the way that we're going then to the Two of Wands tells me that, okay, you're actually going to be going back to the drawing board at least once this May when it comes to what you believe is in full swing at the beginning of the month. That's pretty normal that we kind of revisit as we go and we learn as we go and we chop and change. The Two of Wands is to do with a choice. So you might be deciding like, okay, I'm going to eliminate this part and pour all my focus on this, and or something like that, or you're kind of saying I'm going to stay or I'm going to go, or there's a sort of like deliberation as to where to put your efforts, where to really make the next steps. So maybe that's what you're doing. You're out in the world, you're doing your market research, you know, you're taking some responsible risks, but mainly taking chances in good faith. And as you learn and as you kind of go with the ebb and flow, you are discovering and kind of fine-tuning and using discernment in the Two of Wands as to what works and what doesn't, what's more effective, what's more worthy of your time and energy and effort, Cancer. But overall, extremely optimistic month of May so far for you. So let's pull more cards and get deeper into these messages. Okay, so what is beginning for you? May might maybe really just looks like a time of travel and movement. There is no stagnant energy here so far. So I think you're very in alignment with the, like I said, I don't know if astrology is your thing or not, but for some of you, I think it will be. All major planets are moving forward at this time in direct motion. Those are quite rare windows of a given year. In the first week of May, Pluto will station retrograde. However, June is going to begin with everything else bar Pluto still direct. So in my opinion, because Pluto is so undercurrent, profoundly transformative, but this transformation happens over months to years, I don't really think that Pluto stationing retrograde is going to hamper or slow down any of your new beginnings or plans or exciting adventures. If anything, it might just make this feel on a psychological level. You may just be like more kind of introspective or find more meaning in what you're doing. So what are you doing? I would love to know what this Three of Wands is showing up in your life as Cancer. I have the Death card and Judgment. Well, I'm glad I mentioned Pluto. In the tarot, the Judgment card is associated with Pluto, major transformation. And Death card, obviously, is one of the most well-known tarot cards, and it is all to do with a releasing of the old and a making way for the new. So I am very pleased to see these cards because it really reinforces to me that basically this is not anything that is going to be flash in the pan for you. This is not a once-off, it seems like. You know, on the surface, it might look like what you're doing and what you have in the throes as you step into May. Could be coming from April, March, February. But as you open the doors of May, so to speak, you're in the throes of future planning. If not waiting for those ships to come in, something seems very certain. Something almost seems like a guarantee for you in May. And you're very much like in it. You're in that kind of like container of growth and progress, and it's exciting. But because Death card and Judgment card are here, it really anchors this into something that is going to be like almost very purposeful for you, almost part of the reason that you are here, you know, that you've woken up. This kind of angel is heralding people in this card from their graves. It represents the rebirth after the death, right? So big this is a big deal for you, Cancer. And on the surface, like I said, it might just look like, well, I'm just doing my thing. I'm just doing my job. Here's the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I'm just making my content. I'm just, watering my garden and tending to life. And okay, fair enough. But deeper than that, with the Death card and the Judgment, it suggests that what you are in the throes of in May are part of something deeply meaningful and profound that for some of you are even going to shape the direction in which your life goes, to put it lightly. So The death card also suggests that you have been undergoing like cycles of huge change and transformation, entering different phases and periods of your life. And entering into a rebirth cycle can feel often like a death cycle, you know, death, rebirth, all of that sort of is wrapped up in one. Sometimes it's hard to know where the beginning is and where the ending is at times, especially when you're in cycles of quite profound or rapid transformation. That can be particularly hard to pinpoint where beginnings and endings are. So I think you're just kind of in the essence of all of that somehow. The Judgment card is really striking too, because it speaks to your readiness for this. And it speaks to potentially, for some of you, these steps or these guarantees or this sense of certainty and progress. And for some, like, this is like a kind of like broadened horizon for you. Before, that might have not seemed possible, or that actually might have been scary, and that might have felt like it was way beyond your limitations or even your abilities. And the Judgment card appears to signal that now is the time where you truly feel ready. In the past, you might have been afraid of this, but so much has changed for you. You have changed now, Cancer. So truly believe that your potential, or this kind of broadening of horizon that is expanding before you, just like all I can see here, as far as the eye can see out here, is just the horizon where the Atlantic Ocean meets the sky, and it just feels so expansive. And at the same time, it's like it always looks like that. So I feel like what that's trying to tell me here is that your internal change has really kind of set the tone for, or how much you've changed has set the tone for this broadening of horizons. Yet it was always possible for you. And that's not like a judgment, right? Or like something shady. It just means that the necessary work that you were doing on yourself or your vision, or kind of trying to eliminate all of this self-doubt and anxiety and insecurity, that was such a vital part of your change and your death card experience. So it was always possible, but for some reason, what you needed to do for yourself and work to get here, and even if this was just like a series of jobs, a series of, you know, plans and vision boards and mood boards, a series of potential mistakes or, you know, failures even, all leading to now. It's a very exciting time for you. I'm so thrilled that I started with the sign of Cancer. So we have the Fool card. Okay, well, how do we go even bigger than the Death card and the Judgment card, really? Okay, so we've got the Fool card. And there is an element of the Fool card that is unbeknownst to you right now. And that's what makes it exciting, because although you get the impression maybe on some level that like, okay, things are different, and like the next sort of stage for you is somewhat exciting, unknown. Like, I actually think you might be, maybe not, underestimating. And I know, you know, I don't think you're assigned to really underestimate, because I think you're very attuned, but maybe you're underestimating how much of a true new beginning this is. Wow. Okay, so I have the Seven of Swords and another pretty like major arcana card, the Hanged Man. Okay. Let me think about that actually. There's an element of you not revealing all of this at once, kind of playing your cards close to your chest, being in some way discreet, not secretive, but more calculated, more private, more kind of like waiting until something is a little more ironclad to reveal. Other than that, Cancer, let's talk about the other potential. It seems like you are purposefully being quite elusive or being hard to get. And I think that at some point in your life, which is very common for all of us almost. It can be childhood, teenage years, in our first job or in college or in school, or even in our relationships. At some point, your lightness or your ability to take chances, to kind of go on that really fast, scary roller coaster, to sort of really essentially, in a metaphorical way, take a walk off a cliff. Right, you wouldn't do that, but the fearlessness was knocked out of you, okay? Or potentially there was a sense of your lofty, dreamlike, childlike nature, your adventurous spirit, your anything is possible free spirit was somewhat dimmed. And this can look like, I don't know, not getting the assertive validation or understanding that we needed when we did, or when we deserved it. Well, we always deserve it. And for that reason, I get the impression that, now not out of spite, as actually part of your journey around this kind of like healing almost, you kind of have made yourself more unavailable, more hard to reach or hard to see, the Seven of Swords, harder to read. And the Hanged Man is actually very much about a kind of elusive, mystical kind of quality, right? Observing, sort of like a bit more formless and shapeless. Now, what do I actually think that looks like in the real world? I'm not telling them my plans. They were not so excited for me when I announced my last venture, or when I told them about my happy news, or, you know, when I told them what was going on in my personal life, or where I was feeling, you know, why I was feeling low or why I was feeling this high. You know, there wasn't really so much of an interest, or you thought like a connection there. So however many times that's happened throughout your life, it has brought you to kind of not always wanting to share what's starting or what's fresh and what's new for you. And now you're kind of hard to reach at times. That's again not a judgment call. In fact, there's two ways to look at that. Like, that could be really honoring your healing and growth, and saying, in a sense, to the universe or to those around you or to yourself, like, I don't need the validation from others. I can do that for myself. Alternatively, it could bring you to a sort of state of a sort of escaping or withdrawal or disillusionment, and a sense of cynicism even. Okay, so there's kind of like a sliding scale there, and like any human being, we probably slide from one side to the other, right? Now, the Hanged Man is also inviting you to take some major stock of where you're at in the month of May. Excuse me, I just need a little sip. Okay, so a lot of the times in the Hanged Man energy, well, a lot of the times we're not in the Hanged Man energy, because we have places to drive to, and we have bills to pay and work to do, and family matters to attend to, and pets to look after, and all of that. So we're not really always in this kind of contemplation or deeply transcendental state of being in meditation, or in the kind of like astral realms. So when we are invited into Hanged Man energy, we can be, in a sense, it seems like we kind of can be pushed into Hanged Man energy at times. You know, there are the times in life where nobody's getting back to us, or things are at a standstill, and, you know, that is seems a little bit more external. Maybe it only seems to be external, but sometimes when we find ourselves in a kind of limbo, or when we are not rushed, or there's no deadline and things aren't urgent, you can be kind of able to take stock of where you've come from and where you're at. And I feel like that's possible. And maybe that's going to happen when you take this vacation or this trip in May, or this time off, if that applies to you. You can really kind of see things from a new perspective. And that's the essence of the Hanged Man. They're illuminated here, and their pause has been very purposeful to see something in a new way. And travel often really does that, right? Because there's a sort of lightness there, there's a cross-cultural element, and it just really helps to broaden our horizons. But anyway, the Two of Wands is when you touch back down on the ground again, and however you take your pause this month, be it on vacation or holiday, or just be it on a couple of days off, or even when you're stuck in traffic and you surrender because you're not going anywhere and it gives you some time to think. When you touch back down to the world or to the earth again, the Two of Wands is here to ask you to fine tune, to kind of trim the fat or something like that. But kind of just to like, let's see what the Two of Wands is asking you to do. Oftentimes with the Two of Wands, there is a question here. Should I stay? Should I go? This one or that one? Where to next? And because the Three of Wands is already there, I think that the Two of Wands is tied into what's already majorly in the works for you. And you're kind of going back to sort of see and assess what's been working and what's not. And now I'm just kind of repeating myself. So let's see what is coming through with that Two of Wands. I think it's really important with the Two of Wands to stick to your initial gut instincts. And I think that you're pretty on point with how you begin the month of May. So if you're able to just kind of continue to capture some of that or bring some of that with you, I think you're in a good place. Okay, so Cancer, before I get into these cards, I want to ask you to please consider subscribing to this channel. That would really help the channel to grow, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments or share this video. Anything you can do to help boost me, I would be so happy about that. And of course, if you want to go deeper into your month of May and look at your month through another lens, I have going to have an extended reading for you, which I'll link down below. Six of Pentacles, Three of Cups. You are supported every which way you go this month, and I think that that must be very validating, because in the past, you not being seen or validated in such a way has caused you to be quite elusive, hard to reach, or aloof at times, if I'm being honest, especially when it comes to sharing in what you're doing in May. But all that's really coming up here, at least from my point of view, is that you're currently surrounded by an amazing emotional support system, a really thriving and beautiful inner circle. And I think that this is going to be something that we'll focus on a little bit more in your other reading too. The Six of Pentacles. If you're looking for financial assistance or support, May might be a month where you're really seeing some aid come through. This might be a time where a loan or investment gets approved, and you might just be sort of the target of people that want to sort of pour into you, to give, and you're ready to receive. The Four of Pentacles in the bottom of the deck is coming through in reverse. This just suggests that the more you're able to drop the barrier around your heart, which would look like acceptance, forgiveness, compassion, and grace for yourself and others, the more the financial blocks or the blocks around you gaining assistance and support are also eliminated, okay? If there is anything weighing heavy on your head, literally or physically or spiritually, trying to allow that to gently release with time, of course, is going to be a really helpful way for you to find a sense of equilibrium and support from other people. And it doesn't have to all be you, Cancer. You're going to be able to, as you eliminate and make decisions for yourself and use discernment, you're going to be able to garner more support and a more fair dealings with others. You'll have something to celebrate by the time the month is out, if not all month long, celebrating where you're at in your journey, celebrating how far you've come. Looks like that could be something to me. But really, what's important about this celebration are the people that are there with you. Even if not in physical, you sense that they're their love and their admiration and joy for you is very real and authentic. But I do think that the month of May is a month where you should raise a glass. Maybe champagne will be your thing, maybe not. But maybe you'll be toasting or cheersing or just dancing and celebrating with friends. And even if it's just very much in the form of like words of affirmation or a phone call or a letter, you really get the sense that people love and support you. And I think that that's what makes this all so important for you, Cancer. Okay, yeah, it's just bringing me back to the essence of you as I finish this reading. It's like, what would all of this success be worth it to Cancer if they didn't have the emotional support or true connection with others that they would love to share this with? Even if it's not family that you share DNA with, it could be a sense of a community or a friendship circle, or even your ancestors, right? Even those who have come before you. There's a real honoring, there's a real, reverence for connection when I think of the sign of Cancer. So I want to leave it at that, okay? Take care. Have a great Taurus season. Bye.